All right, well, let's look at a few news articles. There's a compiler that MIT is putting out called Codon, which will compile Python into machine code. Well, normally, I guess Python doesn't run that way. I wasn't really sure of this. I found in my experience Python runs pretty fast, but they make it sound like Python actually compiles like Java, which I did not know. They said normally it compiles down to bytecode, and that gets run in a virtual machine. So that's interesting. I know Python is not typically compiled. Anyway, this compiles it into executable code, and there's, of course, much faster. So that might be good. There's other products that do this. I've used this to make Python-based malware in the past. So this is cute. CAN is Car Area Network, and there are devices for sale for a few $1,000s on the black market that will hack into specific car models. You just have to connect them to the car area network in the car, and sometimes you can do that through the headlight. So this guy found twice someone had broken into his headlight, and the third time they actually stole his car. So it took him a couple of tries. You buy this, you find the right wires to connect it to, and then it attacks the car area network and takes over the sensor that determines whether you have provided the right key and tells it you provided the right key when you haven't. There are persistent reports from surveillance cameras and police all around the nation of crooks that have magic boxes where they just walk up to a car, press a button, and the door opens and the car starts and they drive away. So these intelligent, ignition systems do have various hacks. And I haven't read much in the way of an analysis of how they work, but this guy analyzed it pretty well. He said it cost you about $5,000 to buy these things. They're sold as emergency start devices, but of course they're used by crooks. And in particular, I noticed they use Toyota cars, which are, I think, the number one most common car. That's what I've got, but my car is so old, I don't think it has any of this. It doesn't have any smart features at all. But anyway, we would like to have a car hacking course here that trains you to doing this stuff. Just because of our budget cuts, we haven't had it. We actually have a teacher. If they bring back our part-timers, Elizabeth does this. She's perfectly prepared to teach that course if they will ever restore our part-timers, which might happen next semester. So before too long, we might have a car hacking course here. That would be great. But right now, I've only seen it at conferences and stuff. There are car hacking villages at DEF CON and most conferences, and you can practice car hacking there. And there are online car hacking simulators that will simulate the car area network so you can practice. You could practice in a virtual car just like we do everything else in virtual machines, so you don't have to have the hardware and stuff. So it's a whole interesting area of hacking, well worth learning. So this one here, yeah, well, this product is very poorly explained, but the point of this is Elon Musk has made it very difficult to leave Twitter. He has blocked the API, so you cannot harvest your old tweets. The tools to get your tweets off Twitter and your contacts off Twitter no longer work because he charges money for the API. And this is another tool that will export the data from Twitter. So until Elon Musk goes to the bother of breaking this tool, which if it becomes popular, he probably will, this is one way to get your information off Twitter to other networks. But I assume most people that care have already left, and the others have just accepted staying until Twitter is dead, which seems to be pretty soon, really. People say that half of the content is now ads, and it's just very gruesome there. I haven't been there in a long time, but people say it's getting to be a very bad experience. So this is an AI model that will just cut out pieces of a picture, and you can just do it online. You can install it locally, but you can also just run it online. This is something Photoshop can do anyway, but as you probably know, Photoshop is not free. So you can try the demo, and you can just upload any picture, and let's see, I have to click this box that doesn't show up well in my browser. There. So now you can pick out part of this picture. All you do is add area, and then add an area, and it will try to pick it, and you can add another area. There's a way to pick up more of it. I was able to do it before with add area. Yeah, there we are. So you can pick out as much of this as you want, and then you can cut it. Cut out object, there you go. And now you have this image. So, works very well. You cut out any part of a picture. This is called the Magic Wand in Photoshop. And I guess it hasn't been freely available before, although I haven't tried other free graphics tools like GIMP. GIMP is one a lot of open source people use. And when I used GIMP years ago, it did not have this feature. I don't know if it does now. Apparently this is quite expensive. As you can imagine, it requires AI to do this. Lolbins Okay, if you want to hack into a system, the old-fashioned way is to install malware on it, and then use the malware to gain remote control. This is very much out of favor these days because endpoint defenses are getting very good. So if you use malware, the anti-malware will often stop it, and then your hack doesn't work. So they've switched to using lol bins, which are the process is called living off the land. Living off the land is where you don't install any malware. You just use tools that are already present on the operating system or tools that are already legal and authorized to run on the system because they come from Microsoft development kits or other, Microsoft or other authorized companies. And now there's a bunch of lol drivers. And I think these are for bring your own vulnerable driver attacks. Yeah, vulnerable malicious drivers. And this is very important. I found a tutorial. I'm trying to add this to the 127 course, a malicious driver attack. I almost got it working earlier today. There's quite a lot of struggle, but this is an important feature because the particular driver I was using, in modern versions of Windows, enforce your drivers to be signed. They have to be signed with a certificate, just like HTTPS sites, and if the certificate authorization fails, the driver will not install. And the known malicious drivers from years ago their certificates have been revoked. And Microsoft Windows will refuse to install them unless you turn that off. And in my project, you just turn that off and use an old driver. We can do that for a project, but it's not much use for real attacks. But this is a list of vulnerable drivers, and they keep this updated so you can find drivers that are new that have not yet been banned. Meaning that Microsoft added a security feature when this became popular, which was supposed to have a kill list of bad drivers, but they never seemed to populate the kill list. So the tool was there, but it didn't actually protect you. I don't know if they finally did. That was all the scandal a few months ago. They'd announced the tool with great fanfare, and when you tried using it, it didn't actually protect you from anything. It was like an antivirus with no database of viruses. And anyway, this is like many attacks. These attacks are only good until somebody blocks it. When a developer of the driver blocks the driver, then it would stop working. But of course, that would mean some of their customers that are using that old driver would lose service, I think. I'm not really sure. Maybe it only tests on installation. But it would mean users of the old hardware could not install that hardware on a new machine because the driver wouldn't go on. So anyway, it's very useful to have it. And they call this lol drivers, living off the land drivers. So that would be good for pen testing. And okay, so ChatGPT, as we all know, is extremely powerful. It can write code for you. It can find bugs in code. It can fix bugs in code. It can summarize YouTube videos. It can do a whole lot of good things. So this guy wanted to build a new zero-day from ChatGPT, and he figured out how to evade the malware. There's a guardrails. They put barriers in ChatGPT to try to stop it from being used for malicious activities like this. If you ask ChatGPT how to build a bomb or how to kill somebody, it won't answer you. But all you have to do is rephrase the question a little bit, and it will evade the filters. And he found this way, too. There are ways to trick it into writing malware for you. And he was able to write a new zero-day, apparently. So I don't know exactly how it worked. The part where he finds the vulnerability is not obvious. So anyway, it'd be interesting to see what he actually accomplished there. I haven't had time to read this article. I just saw the description of it. And here's a Chrome extension to try to discover if you have debugging parameters. And I think the point of this, well, I'm not sure what the point is. I thought this was something malware would use to detect that it's running in a debugger, but it looks like it does something else. It's a little bit hard to understand. It discovers hidden debugging parameters and uncovers web application secrets. So I guess it looks for parameters on the website that put it into debugging mode. Now, this is something we talked about in the lectures in this course a bit. You might have a mode like admin equals no or debug equals false. And if you change that to debug equals true, then you might have interesting error messages and stuff. So I guess that's what this does. It might be useful for the kind of stuff we're doing in this course. We're trying to find vulnerabilities in websites. Again, I just found out about this, so I'm not entirely sure how it works, and I haven't tested it. And this is right on target for tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about cross-site scripting in the projects. And cross-site scripting, just like SQL injection, has a lot of common payloads. And here's one of the many lists. Like one of the ones we're going to use, of course, is the Portswigger cross-site scripting cheat sheet. This is what comes with the Web Academy. And this has a lot of the usual payloads in it, which they have a way to search for them. Yeah, with no user interaction. Yeah, things like this. cross-site scripting, on-after script execute, keyframes, a lot of fancy ones. There's many ways to add JavaScript of many kinds that will execute things. Here's something that will, on and before print, it'll execute this command in the body statement. There's just many, many ways to add event handlers and other things to your page, and we'll try a few of these later. There's an enormous number of ways. If you can inject any tags or even parameters into a page, you can trick it into executing script a lot of different ways. And so there's a whole bunch of cross-site scripting cheat sheets there with lists of possible ways to do it. And this one here, endpoint data response, is hooking. And they're talking about how Sophos AV hooks and how they, so this is actually pretty interesting. I wasn't aware that modern antivirus products still used hooking into the operating system. I thought this went out after Vista in 2008. This used to be how rootkits worked. And I had projects attacking things in rootkits in the 126 and 127 course that way. And this seems to be a new version of it. So again, I haven't had time to look at it yet, but it's another way. It'd be interesting to see. There is some hooking apparently used by a modern antivirus product. So I'd like to understand how it works and see what we can do with it. And the company that makes Cobalt Strike is a very important pen testing product. It isn't in my classes because doesn't have a free version, and it's very expensive. Not only is it expensive, but you have to prove to them you're a legitimate pen tester to get it. But Metasploit is the equivalent. It's a free equivalent. It is an agent. You create agents, you install them on the machine, they will bypass antivirus, then you have remote control of the machine. And it's used a lot. The problem is crooks have broken the copy protection, and there are old broken versions of Cobalt Strike out there, and they're used a lot to hack into companies. And a couple of weeks ago, the company that owns Cobalt Strike, Fortra, had a really bad handling of a security problem. They had another problem for remote control of machines, sort of like PC Anywhere, and it had a huge flaw, and they totally ignored security warnings and put up a security warning that was hidden behind a login. And hundreds of companies got hacked. Last I saw, 160 large companies were hit with ransomware because they used this tool and they did not manage the vulnerability disclosure and patching properly. So currently they're embarrassed. So apparently, to create some good press, they decided to finally do something about this. In partnership with Microsoft, they're going to try to take technical and legal action to try to take down all the bad Cobalt Strike products out there. This is important politically in the security community. There's people that make dual-purpose tools, like, for example, Burp. Right? You can use Burp to find a security problem. You could also use Burp to hack into a real website. So some people think those tools should be illegal. And for a while, they were illegal in France and Germany. I'm not sure now. They call them dual-purpose tools, like Kali Linux. You can use it for good or evil. And it's really bad when you write a dual-use tool and you let people start using it for evil purposes and you don't do anything about it. Then, of course, you get a bad reputation. And Cobalt Strike is very far down that lane, so they're trying to pull back here. Anyway, I'll stop recording this.